Hello and welcome to this Fotospeed video with me, Tim Jones, as always. What we're going to be looking at today is part of the Printing 101 series, and that is going to be how to print black and white. It's always a subject that is really popular with us, and a question we always get asked is, how should I be printing my black and whites to stop colour casts coming out on my printer and have a lovely neutral print coming out of our printer that hasn't got any colour casts and is beautiful and has lovely black to white and all those lovely mid-tones in between as well. Well, hopefully after today's video, you'll have a lot better idea on actually how to do this. But first of all, before we get into any of that, please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel and also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter on photospeed.com. But I'm going to put links and everything in the description below for you. And also don't forget to download the free ebook called The Art of Printing, which covers everything from printing, including black and white printing as well. If you are in mainland Europe, you can now order Fotospeed papers through Colour Europe. I'll put links and everything in the description below. And if you are based in the USA, please order papers through Midwest Photo. And I'll put, again, all the links in the description below. Okay, housekeeping out of the way, let's have a look at black and white prints and how we should go about printing them. Now, first of all, before we look at all the lovely prints on the table here, because I've done some comparisons and some different options that we have. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit, don't get too frightened by this, I want to talk a little bit about colour management, and don't turn off, it's not going to be that boring, I promise, and I will be quick, because colour management does apply to black and white printing. Now, when we're thinking about black and white printing, we have two options of how we set up the printer or set up the software, set up the printer, of how we go about printing our black and white pictures. To prepare our file, the first thing we need to do is we need to convert our picture to black and white, obviously. So be it in like a program like Lightroom, you can just click the black and white button and do all your edits as you normally would. Or you might use a separate program like Silver Effects or something like that to do it. Any way is absolutely fine. The best way kind of is the way that works for you. There's no kind of right or wrong in that kind of sense of things. When it comes to printing though, we have two options of what we can do. Now, the first option is to let the printer handle the colour management, what we call printer manages colours, which is fine. And most printers will have a black and white mode. And you can either tick the box or engage the black and white mode of the printer. And if you have a certain printer, it will produce a perfect black and white print. Now, this is where pigment-based printers win out, because they have a larger array of inks in them, usually 10 or 12 inks, pigment-based printers. And when we're talking about pigment, we're talking about pigment inks in the printer. They also have matte black and photo blacks. Now, if you haven't watched my video on the differences between matte black and photo black, just pause here. I'll put a link in the description below. Go and watch that video first, and then just come back to this one, because it will explain the differences and why you might need to use a matte black on a matte paper and a photo black on like a semi-gloss gloss type of paper. But those are what we would need to use on those types of papers. Very simply, if you use a matte black, it intensifies the black on a matte paper, which we don't need to do on a luster or gloss type of paper. So we use a photo black in there. So also within these pigment ink based printers, they have grey inks as well, which also help with our black and whites. So we have grey tones, and we can get more grey tones in there as well. So this in turn stops like shadows and highlights blocking and things like this and blowing out, but also it stops us from having really bad colour casts happening in the prints. So if you have a pigment-based printer with grey inks in there, with a matte black and photo black, you can generally click the black and white button on your printer and have perfect black and whites coming out of the printer. Now, if you haven't got a pigment-based printer and you've got a dye-based printer, then this may be a little bit tricky, because generally dye-based printers might have one grey ink, or they might not have any, and they usually only have one black as well. So it's going to make those grey tones by mixing up the other colours in there to create greys for you, which can in turn cause colour cast and things. So usually in this case, we recommend to have a custom profile made, which is a free service we offer here at Fotospeed. And custom profiles are probably one of the key foundations to printing. We always recommend it, be it if you're printing in colour or black and white, and it's the same profile for both. And what it will do is neutralise basically any colour that's coming out in your black and whites or any colour casts that are being affected to a point. We are limited on the ability of the printer. Basically, the general rule is the more inks you have in your printer, the better your prints will generally be in range of colour and range of greys and blacks and things. So those are our two options. We can let the printer manage the colours and use the black and white mode, or we can use an ICC profile that's been custom made to our printer, which again is a free service we offer here. And this should give us perfectly neutral prints as well. So to illustrate this, what I've done is I've printed some prints out here using both those options. And I've used an Epson P900 to print these. Now the differences between Canon and Epson, in this case, there isn't much difference at all between the two printers. They both produce really nice black and whites out of the box. And I've used pigment-based printers just to kind of illustrate this, but we could do this test with dye. We might see slightly different results. But let's have a look at some prints, and hopefully this will all come a little bit clearer on which you should be using and which is best, to be honest, because obviously the printer manufacturers say that their black and white modes are the best. And I would say in some cases, the black and white mode kind of wins out. And then other cases, especially with dye-based printers, a custom profile will be best as well. However, let's have a look at some prints and we will go from there. So I'm going to put all these prints to the side so it's nice and easy to see, and we're going to compare them side by side and actually have a look. So bear with me. I'm just going to clear the table and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. Now, I should say I've printed on matte and a matte paper, which is NST Bright White, just because it's a nice high white point of paper, works beautifully with black and whites. And I've also used a platinum baryta paper as well, because again, works perfectly with black and white. It's nice high white point, got that baryta agent, so it intensify those blacks and all those lovely things that we need it to do. And we're going to compare the printer's black and white mode and a profile, handling the colour management basically. So these are two prints here. Now, I can't remember which way around these prints are, and I'm doing this for a reason. I've written on the back which one's which, because I want to just have a look and see them without knowing, because I know that knowing will influence my judgment. Now, instantly, I think, just by looking at it and without looking on the back at all, I would say this one on the left appears a little bit warmer to me. And that's just because of that's appearing to me. So maybe because of my eyes, I don't know why. Maybe this one's got a little bit of blue in, it's a bit cooler perhaps. But this one appears a little bit more neutral on the right-hand side here. Again, not too sure why, but it does. Detail-wise, both are absolutely perfect. I'm just looking at some shadow details down the bottom here. Both contain the same amount of shadow detail, possibly this one on the left. I mean, minute details, possibly a little bit more detail in the shadows, very slightly, not too sure. Very, very slightly though. Yeah, this one, so slight. This one just appears, especially in the grey area up here, just appears a little bit warmer. And I've got some daylight light shining on these as well, so it shouldn't be affected by anything in the room. Yeah, I want to see which way round they are, because it'd be quite interesting this. Okay. So the one on the left here is the black and white mode of the printer, which I'm a little bit surprised about, because when I did this before, a good number of years ago now, back in lockdown actually, I think we did a test between these two black and white modes and things. The black and white mode kind of won out. But on this one here, I'm thinking with the profile, it is a little bit, it just looks a little bit more neutral under these lights. or, now this is where it gets a bit tricky, or it's got a little bit of magenta in it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this one over and have a look at this one independently, because if they're side by side, you might find this. If you look at prints like this side by side, you're going to see differences. Even if you print them one after the other with the same settings, your eyes will start to play tricks and you'll probably see differences. And this is why all these videos are a little bit tricky. However, that one appears perfectly neutral to me. Okay, so let me turn it over though, like this. And then I'm going to have a look at this one. And to be honest, it appears pretty neutral to me. If this was in isolation and I hadn't looked at this one, this is pretty neutral. I can't see much wrong with that at all. And again, it's got a nice little bit of detail down the bottom here. So the profile is just blocking those shadows very, very slightly. I don't know if you can see it on the video. I'll try and do some close-ups for you. Again, detail, absolutely stunning. Yeah. So let's look at another print though, because I'm interested in this difference, and I wonder if I can see it in other prints as well. So I'll just put those to the side there. So let's look at the same paper, NST Bright White, and I'm going to look at this zebra print here. Again, I want to just have a look at them without knowing which one is which, basically, to start with. Just check you guys can see them on the camera up there as well, but I will do some close-ups as well. Again, this bottom one here just appears a little bit warmer. This appears like it's got a little bit more contrast in it. So if the results are the same as the first one, this boat picture we had, this bottom one is going to be the black and white mode, which is not. It's actually the profile. So the black and white mode here, let me just switch them around here. Yeah, it's definitely not the lights. Not the results I wanted. But anyway, so actually, in this case, the profile to my eyes is a little bit warmer. And hopefully, I'll do some close-ups because you can probably see here, hopefully what I mean. Now, the black and white mode has produced a perfectly neutral print. I can't see anything in there under these lights, under these daylight lights. It can't, I mean, that looks absolutely spot on to me. So just being able to click print is what I kind of say. Then this one, when you're comparing between the two, you probably see it here actually. This one here, and this is the same profile as I used over here, just feels a little bit more mid-tony perhaps, a little bit more subdued. Perhaps, I mean, you could say it's got a tiny little bit more detail in here, but it just appears a little bit more neutral. This appears a little bit warmer. Let me just take them individually. Now, when I just put it on its own, to me, that looks neutral. It's almost like a little optical illusion's happening. Something's happening somewhere. That appears neutral to me. Whereas if I pop that one down, again, that one appears nice and neutral as well. So I'm not sure. My eyes are playing tricks on me, I think, a little bit. If I bring in this one as well, I mean, this one does appear a little bit warmer. And this is the profile I've got here. Interesting. So the black and white mode is 1-1 at the minute. The black and white mode is winning out on this picture here. Be interesting to know how this picture looks on the Platinum Brighter though here, because I've printed it the same way on the Platinum Brighter here. This bottom one, I would say, is definitely the one that's looking again a little bit warmer perhaps. So again, that's the profile on the bottom here. And I've got the black and white mode on the top here, which is winning out, I think, anyway, to my taste. And I think there's nothing wrong with either. In isolation, I think they both look very, very neutral. Perhaps this has just got a little bit of warmth to it. It's very slight though. It is so slight. I'm not sure everyone would notice it. Yeah, it's just perhaps this one's just got a little bit more contrast. It looks like it's just got a little bit more. Yeah, just around the ear here as well. Just the profile's giving a little bit of warmth to it. So it may be the case. I mean, this was a fresh custom profile I've made. So before this video, I redid all the profiles for these papers on that printer and printed them out and just used the black and white mode. So it's nice, fair playing. They're not like a year-old profiles or anything. They are where they were made a couple of hours ago, kind of scanned and made and printed. So shouldn't be anything wrong with the profile, but it may be just to get that perfect black and white, we might need to do something with the profile and just to optimize it, possibly. However, I think that's perfectly neutral. You'd be more than happy with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that print there. It's only when we compare it to a black and white mode printer that we start to see there's a little bit of warmth in it, perhaps. So at the minute, the black and white mode is winning out. So let's look at a portrait though. Let's go back to the NST Bright White. And I've got a portrait here on NST Bright White, and I've also got one on the Platinum Baryta as well as a comparison. Now, again, this one on the right here, it just has a bit more life to it. It has a little bit more punch, it kind of jumps off the page a little bit more. Whereas the one on the left here, I wouldn't say there's any cast in it or anything. It just seems a little bit more mid-tone perhaps. Personally, I prefer the one on the left here. And I suspect, I'm thinking, I'm going to have a guess that this is the black and white mode. It is, perfect. So we're kind of learning what to look for and what's happening now. There's nothing wrong with either. It's just which one you prefer the look of. I think there's more contrast in here. Perhaps, I mean, you could say there's a little bit more detail shadow-wise in here, in the profile version, perhaps. But for me, it's the punch, and maybe that's the case, and maybe it's the punch that's the case in the other ones we've looked at. It's not so much it's warmer, perhaps it's just a little bit of a different tone, it's a little bit more subdued. And I just prefer something with a little bit more punch, perhaps. Both of them are nice and white, there's some lovely detail going on. I mean, they're both really pin sharp and things. I suppose it's a credit to the printer and the paper, I suppose that. But individually, I don't think there's anything wrong. If you hadn't seen these side by side, I don't think you'd see it as an issue. You wouldn't see it. We're only seeing it because they're side by side. Individually, I think this one, which is the profile, looks perfectly neutral. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if that came out of my printer, I'd think a brilliant, beautiful black and white. And I don't think anyone would spot a judge or anything unless they had this one here. Which you could say, it's kind of 6 done, half dozen of the other. Is this one a little bit warmer, or does this one have a little bit of blue in? And you're kind of, because if the black and white mode was a little bit cooler, then that would make the profile one that's neutral appear a little bit warmer. So you're kind of, it's playing off against each other. That's why colour management's so tricky, because we all see things slightly differently as well. My eyes are different to anyone out there watching as well. We all have slight deficiencies and things like that. So it's always interesting. However, I think that at the minute, the black and white, for my taste, the black and white mode is winning out. And I think it does deliver what it says on the tin, which is a bit of a shame because I always like catching the manufacturers out, but they are delivering what they say on the tin at the minute. And I think the same is happening here with the Platinum Baryta. The one on the left here, here we go. The Platinum Baryta, I think the one on the left here is the black and white mode. However, on the Baryta, I really prefer this one. It's got this one on the right-hand side, just has a little bit more life to it, perhaps. There's something in it which really works with the subject. So the one on the left here is, yes, the black and white mode. And I think I'm only guessing that because it just seems a little bit cooler perhaps, and a little bit more, I don't want to say neutral because I don't know if it is. Just seems a little bit more kind of, I don't know, like there's something else in there. It just seems a little bit more kind of that neutral kind of feel to it. However, in this case, I love what the profile version has done. It's almost a little bit warmer, but that warmth just added a little bit more tone to the picture, as in it's a little bit more inviting. It invites you in a little bit more. It's a little bit kind of softer, not as in focus, but in kind of tone and things. And I think that's what we've got to think about with our prints as well, not just clinically right or wrong. It's about how the print makes us feel. And I won't get too arty. I'm going to stop there. But it's about how it makes us feel and what we want to be communicated in our work as well. The one on the left here, again, is a little bit, it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It looks absolutely fine. We've got lovely detail and things going on. Probably a little bit more detail. I think the one on the right-hand side here just had a little bit more contrast, perhaps, which is kind of bucked the trend from what we've seen before. Maybe not. Maybe they're just slightly different. They're just different in what they produce. And I think we've just got to pick the one that you prefer and like the feel of. I think, though, from purely technical black and white neutrality kind of point of view, I think the black and white mode wins out in this case, just by comparing prints in this way. But there are other factors to consider as well, like I've pointed out through the video. So just bear that in mind when you are thinking about this. However, if you want a nice simple way to print black and whites, you don't want to agonize over it, you don't want to think about it too much. And because we're in Printing 101, we are thinking about making things nice and easy and simple, so we don't have to think about it too much, so we can actually enjoy our printing and get the best out of our printers and then build up to agonizing over prints. Then I think the black and white mode of your printer, especially if you've got a pigment-based printer, now this is really important, if you have a pigment-based printer, the black and white mode will win out. If you have a dye-based printer, apart from, say, like the Canon Pro 200S, because that has 2 grey inks in, is a little bit different. But if your printer only has 4 or 6 inks in, it is going to be more difficult for the black and white mode to get a perfect black and white out of the box. So click that button, just click print, it works. So I would say in that case, if you've got, say, 4 or 6 inks in your printer, get a custom profile from us. It doesn't cost anything, just an envelope, a sheet of paper and a stamp to get the chart to us. Full instructions are, I'll put some links below to full instructions on the website of how you go about actually doing this. And I've got videos on it as well, so I'll put a link at the end as well. So get a custom profile made and try that as well. We can also, for a very small fee, optimize profiles as well. So where we're seeing a little bit of warmth in here, optimization will possibly remove this little bit of warmth for us in there. However, hopefully you can see that in some cases it works really well. In other cases, we might want to keep it. So happy accidents happen, and that is absolutely fine. Also look at it in decent light as well. I've got daylight lights here and daylight balance lights here as well that I've set up because of the videos and things like that as well. But also take them over to a window and have a look at them just to make sure there aren't any tungsten lights, because they're quite yellow, so they'll have an effect on your prints as well. So bear that in mind when you're looking for that agonizing over, is my print neutral? Is it going to look good? And also, if you're taking it into competition and things and people are looking at it, make sure they're looking at it under the right light as well, because that makes a huge difference. Well, I hope that's helped a little bit and simplified black and white printing for you. So very simply, if you've got a pigment-based printer, use the black and white mode of the printer, And if you have a dye-based printer with say 4 or 6 inks in and perhaps 1 grey, get a nice custom profile from us and you'll get some really nice black and whites out of your printer. Bear in mind though, you are going to be limited depending on which printer you've got of what can be achieved. Just have that in the back of your mind, but most printers will produce some black and whites with either a good custom profile or the black and white mode from the printer manufacturer. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel. Also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter and download the free Art of Printing, free ebook from us here at Fotospeed, explaining everything to do with printing, including black and white printing as well. I'll put links in the description below. If you're in the US, don't forget you can now order through Midwest Photo. And if you're in mainland Europe, please order through Colour Europe. And I'll put all their websites and links in the description below. So we release new videos every week here on the Fotospeed YouTube channel. So on that note, I will see you next week. Bye-bye.